Alderman Kennedy.
Here.
Alderman Moore.
Here.
Alderman French. Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderman Carter.
Here.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Here.
Alderman Ogilvy.
Here.
Chairman Conway. 6 present, we have a quorum.
Okay, Steve, I'm gonna go and let you start out, and then, I know normally we ask questions in seniority, but some of the guys have meetings, they gotta go across the hall, so I might do things a little out of balance so people can get their questions in. So Steve, if you go ahead and go over your budget.
Basically, the programs and services in the whole street department budget are basically the same as we provided last year. I'll go over a couple of the changes. In the director's office budget, we eliminated a Secretary 1 position and created, it's listed in the budget as a traffic engineer. Basically, the position is going to be a bicycle, pedestrian, traffic coordinator to try and comply more with the city's streets, complete streets program. We're currently working with personnel department on actually studying that position to determine exactly what it should be. We asked them to classify it. They sent us a list of questions on what we were looking at, and we're completing that, and we'll get it back to them this week. And we'd like to get that person on board this summer. They would work with, review studies done by GRG as far as whether you can put bike lanes in here and actually look for money, federal money available for complete streets and pedestrian and bicycle improvements. That's basically the change in the director's office budget. In traffic division, we increased our overtime account. It was 60,000. We're actually going to spend more like 130,000 this year. We asked for that much, but we got 110,000. And the reason our overtime is up,
I'm sorry, so they, for whatever reason, they scheduled 2 meetings exactly the same time, so
Okay.
some of the guys have to go over and make a quorum,
say
and
aye.
they'll come back.
Okay.
Talk slow, Joe, I'll be back.
The only way to know, Sam. Sorry, Steve.
So the reason our overtime went up, we're concentrating more on getting circuits fixed over the weekend. During the weekend, we always have a crew on, we have a crew on 24/7, but there's only like 2 guys. So if we have 2 or 3 circuits go out on a Friday night or Saturday night, or a big mass storm knockdown on a city street, we'll call additional people in on overtime if needed to get those things back up and running, so lights aren't out for more than 2 or 3, more than a couple days. And so we want to continue that to get so people aren't out without light for a whole weekend or something.
Okay, I see
If you wanna go ahead and cover the streets and then refuge, and this way we'll just,
Yeah,
when we do questions, we'll just, rather than one by one, we'll just open it up.
there's no changes in the toll lot section, so it's just, everything's the same. In streets, we request, the big thing is there, they didn't give us the amount of money to replenish the salt that we use this year. That's always a problem what's the budget numbers here, Kent? It should be 807,000 instead of the 474.
Yeah, in order to replenish what we used last year, we need $807,000. That's between the 5237 and the 5238 account. It's kind of goofy.
So how much total more do you need?
It is like 330.
330?
And what happens is, in the past, we've seen this where we go a year or 2 without budgeting the full quantity of salt, and you just keep putting yourself behind and behind and behind and behind. And then in 3 years, now I come in here and I'm asking for $2 million in salt because we shorted ourselves for 3 or 4 years to catch up.
Okay. I'm gonna mark it down, and maybe we'll try to see if we can find it.
And that's the big thing in streets. In refuse division, they eliminated 5 trash truck drivers. We've had those 5 vacancies all year. In fact, actually, what we have now, 10. So, and part of the problem is, you know, I think we're spending more overtime now to get through the routes. And the big issue is, we are showing drivers, but the biggest issue is the vehicles. We can't keep the trucks running. And I think we can do without the 5 drivers this year. The biggest help for refuse would be get this bond issue passed, so they got that $9 million or whatever money, so they buy new equipment.
It went through, yeah, I mean, it went through here yesterday, so it's gonna be on the ballot.
Right, yeah, just hopefully the voters will approve it. And we're also having personnel is looking at the refuse driver position to see if it does. It's an HEL2, which is the same classification as a you know, a tandem driver or a sweeper driver. But a lot of the thought is it's more like a construction equipment operator. They got a lot of stuff to do, so they're studying that position. I know recently they had hired a driver and the guy quit after 1 day. And I think a lot of that is the equipment they have. You know, new drivers, they get the crappiest piece of equipment there is, so. That'd be the big help for refuse would get new equipment in. That's basic changes.
I think what I'll do then, I'll just open it up, and there's only a couple here, but people will come back.
Yeah.
So, Beth, you'd be first to ask questions.
I don't have any right now, thank you.
And Scott? Scott's got that question.
I'm still looking.
I mean, so this is gonna be, I think one of the sales points on the bond is something you just brought up is a lot of our equipment is aged to the point where we're really having interruptions in service.
Right.
I think it'd be-
there's almost every day Nick doesn't get a route complete because of equipment down.
I mean, it'd be
And
nice
it'd
to have
also be a
that.
big savings for equipment services. They don't have to maintain all this old stuff.
Right, but it'd be nice to have that quantified in some way, like how many routes there are each day and how many can't be completed because, you know, equipment breaks in the middle.
We can get an average on that, Nick. You have what, 60 routes?
Across the hall.
Roughly 60, yeah, every day.
Well, actually, we'll start at 8:30.
We can,
We'll get a little memo or list together and send it out to the group.
If we can find it, 'cause I just made a note.
You can also put in there the age of your trucks. You know, you have so many that are over 12 years old and 15 years old.
Anything else, Elizabeth? Take your time.
Just sort of the long-term picture, is there fluctuation over time in what it costs us to, like our tipping fees to get rid of trash? Do we have an idea of like, going a few years out, could that cost spike at any point, or do we think that, you know, the landfill's gonna?
Well, it's under contract. How long's that contract?
Oh, another 10 years.
But I'm sure they can adjust the price.
Yeah. You're talking about for the dumping?
Dumping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have lowered it once. Todd negotiated a lower price, and I think he probably intends to do that again.
A big savings in refuse would be to educate people. And that's another thing I want to mention, refuse. There was one position eliminated and some performance money. It wasn't eliminated, actually transferred to Brightside to run to educate the people on the recycling program because they do all that very well. And the big savings would be to get more people to recycle. Instead of paying, what do you pay for $35 a ton for trash? If it goes in recycle, you're only paying $15 a ton. So you save $20 a ton if people recycle instead of putting in solid waste.
I mean, our recycling rate has been kind of slow to climb after the first year, right? It's been kind
Right.
of steady. It hasn't picked up much
Yeah,
since.
what is it, 10%
2012.
or?
About 10%.
Wow. What's the matter with us?
Okay. And the refuse driver, the position, that's on page 191 here. Heavy equipment operator 2, there's 82 positions, 70 filled.
Close the door, disturb it.
What page was that again, Alden?
191 on the line item. Is that,
Pardon me?
is that that's the driver position?
Right, the HEL2.
So how many, so there's 70 of those positions are occupied right now, we have
69 occupied right now.
The guy resigned yesterday again, so.
we have 60,
68.
and we have 60 routes, is that,
Right,
okay.
but you
But-
always have people on
Sure,
vacation
right,
and so.
right, yeah, I understand.
And they do other things too, like they'll go out and pull a 10-foot long tree branch out of a dumpster so they can empty it. So-
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Just a question on that recycling. Do we have an idea, like, where the, like ward by ward, where people are recycling and where they're not? I mean, or how many dumpsters recycle? You only put out recycle dumpsters as they're needed?
Well, we make sure every alley has at least one.
Right.
Some alleys have 3 or 4 of
Yeah.
them. Generally, the more affluent neighborhoods recycle more than the poorer neighborhoods.
And I know at one time when the tipping fees were a lot higher, we had talked about just giving everybody a roll card to force them to recycle.
Mhm.
Is that cost effective with the tipping fees being so low
It's
right now?
much more expensive for us because we can dump about 1,200 homes with the alley containers and only about 800 with the carts, so we would need more trucks, more drivers. When you dump a dumpster, you're dumping 4 homes at one time, whereas carts, it's individually, it takes a little longer.
Okay. Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had to leave out when you were talking about the Complete Streets program, where you have a new position.
Right.
And what is the title of that?
Well, we put it in the budget as a traffic engineer. I mean, and that's my feeling, the person should have knowledge of traffic. If not an engineer, a technical person, because they're gonna be involved with installing, evaluating streets for bike lanes and stuff. And complete streets, it's not just about bikes and peds, we wanna keep the cars moving too, so you don't wanna take too much traffic lanes away, and then you aggravate the drivers, and you get road rage, and it's less safe for pedestrians and bicycles, so. And we're working with personnel now to determine exactly what that position should be.
Okay.
They sent us a list of questions, what we're looking for, which we'll get back to them this week, and hopefully we'll have it all lined up and advertised by the end of this June or something.
That's all. Questions for
All right. Alderman Moore.
Who handles the bicycles trails? I'm wondering why you took Martin Luther King instead of Page. It's a bigger street. It's my business district, and it has signaled the traffic out and took away the traffic because people don't want to travel down Martin Luther King because it's a 1 lane now. It used to be a 2 lane where we could tear the mirrors off the people's cars.
Yeah,
We sort of enjoyed that.
well, the city approved it. We work with GRG, they have the design funds and stuff, and they did just a study on it, and, with the traffic volumes, Martin Luther King worked just as well with 1 lane as it did 2. And like
But
you're saying,
I don't think it was taken into consideration that the businesses on Martin Luther King, people avoid it now so that they can go down Page. And I have, that's my main business district. I don't have nothing major, but it's my biggest business district. And I get from my citizenry as to what the heck is going on? Who told you to take that lane off of Martin Luther King?
well, we'll get with GRG and we'll sit there and down and talk to you about it, see what I mean, a lot of businesses welcome the bicycle crowd, so I don't know what you.
We only have one bicycle rider in my community,
Well, get on them.
and her name is Scott. So she's on one ride with a helmet. The rest of us cut across and run red lights and do whatever we want to do because we've been used to doing that. So there's nothing that
I
we.
mean, narrowing
appreciate.
lanes and everything also improves pedestrian safety too. I mean, you want to promote all these modes of transportation.
Yeah, after I looked at it, I thought it was kind of bogged up. And the union is not in my ward, but that union is a holy grail. There's a lot of long lights, and I'm an advocate for being late every morning. And when I get to Cass and Grand, I can take a nap. Then when I get to Jefferson and Cass, I can take another nap.
So you're going down Cass.
I'm going down Cass, and those two lights are the longest lights in the history of lights, besides West Florissant and Newstead, that's in Antonio's ward. That one, we all go make a right turn, make a U-turn, and then go to the green on West Florissant. And can we make left on red lights now?
No,
I just wonder. They're doing it.
they do it downtown all the time, you know.
No, I see them doing it all the time, making left on red lights and making U-turns at red lights. So I was wondering, have we passed a new ordinance that I would sleep on or something?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, that's all I have. Antonio, do you think that light in your ward is long on West Florissant and Newstead?
West Florissant and.
It's Pope or?
Oh, yeah. No, I hadn't seen too long.
Come by there sometime, you'll find me asleep.
You still there?
Oh, there you go.
I do have a complaint about that area, but I'll get to
Okay,
that.
that's all I have for now.
Alderman French.
Oh, look at there. So right around that West Florissant and Pope area, it is where you guys did the same thing. You turned it into a one lane street. Now, if you come off of 70 and head towards the park on West Florissant, there's now a bike lane, and then there's the one lane that used to be a 2-lane, and it is no clear way for you to merge into that traffic. So you go immediately cross the bike lane into a right turn only, and so every day people are struggling to figure out, I want to go straight, I don't want to go right.
And they're in the right turn lane.
Yeah, as soon as you come off, you're in a right turn only lane, and it's no way to really merge unless it's very confusing. I shot a video. This was just
We can
done.
take a look at it, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
south of 70 then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, on West Florissant.
70
Yeah, I
West
think,
Florissant.
right. You
It's-
sent that for video.
I
I
shot a
couldn't open
video.
it, but Cindy opened it and we looked at it, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And I guess that just goes to the same thing as, I think it would have been a little better to have some communication before the streets were changed like that. It was a surprise to me when they were changed down to, when West Florissant was changed down to 1 lane each way. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I might have had some suggestions about how it could be done. And so was the community of Fallon neighborhood.
Well, I've got that feedback a little bit from other wards too, and we sat down with GRG and stuff and make sure that they publicize this a little bit, but more so, you know, a couple weeks or a month ahead of time, send out an email blast to everybody saying, okay, this, or whatever affects you in your ward, or to the whole group.
Yeah, I mean, because we got a lot of calls and I didn't really know what to tell them. And then also on Natural Bridge, probably the same kind of thing that Alderman Moore was talking about. There was a bike rack added to what was a main parking space in front of Julie Davis Library, put out into the street. So it eats up that, what really was kind of a de facto handicap parking space. That's where seniors park, because it's the closest to walk into it. And now there's bike lanes, bike rack there in the middle of the street. I might have had some input about that too.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe we can take a look at that. Because there is area on the sidewalk and in front of the library where bike rack could go, and not in the street.
Yeah, that's a big bike, they call it corral.
The corral thing.
Yeah, so they put the bike, and then they put up these barricades all around. Yes, it looked like an engineer designed it, not a designer. You know? It's functional, but it's not ugly.
It's just not pretty.
It ain't pretty. That's all I have.
Alderman Carter. We kind of are asking questions about the budget.
Yeah, no. I have a street question too.
I don't have any questions. I'm sorry. No questions.
And then just one final thing is, on the, I know that everybody's talking about the bike lanes, but the city adopted the master plan, is that correct?
Yes.
That was generated by Great Rivers Greenway.
Right.
Did we adopt it by ordinance, or did we just adopt it by, like, as a policy?
I don't want to say for sure, I can definitely find out.
Right, well, let us know. I mean, there is a plan out there of every street, and.
I can, yeah, they got a nice map showing all the routes,
Right.
and what's the shared lane route, and where the bike lanes are supposed to go. I would think, if not, that we can get that sent to all the aldermen, so they can have a map showing what's gonna happen everywhere throughout the whole city. Now, it changes occasionally, depending on, what happens in certain areas. Like they originally had a shared bike lane coming down Market, well, we put the squash to that, and now with all the new arch projects, we're looking at a bike lane on Chestnut going into the arch, and on Pine coming back out, so it's changing as it moves along.
And then all of the striping that we've done for the bike lanes in the road configurations and the chicken paws or the paw marks, that was all paid by a federal grant?
Yes.
Okay.
They paid, yeah, GRG came up with the 20% match, and it was a federal project.
And how much did we spend on that?
This last project, was it $1.5 million, I think? The one that's just wrapping up now.
And then,
That's gonna be an issue with us in the future, because there's a lot more striping out there to maintain, so.
Alderwoman Murphy.
I have no questions.
Okay. Well, I thank you for coming out today. It was,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah,
I have one more question.
well, ask the question.
I'd like to inquire my colleague, Mr. Carter here. On Riverview, when you get you're on Riverview headed north, and you get to West Florissant, the lane abruptly, you have to go into the park lane to go straight, and you gotta make,
We have 2 lanes that's going left and 1 going straight. The furthest one goes straight.
and then when you get on down farther by McLaurin, if you're headed north,
You
headed
gotta
south,
turn, and then
You gotta
one is
get
turned.
over.
Yeah.
that needs a little more indication, because people are sitting side by side and they're going straight, and you've got the straight lane, and they're taking your lane out and running you into the park.
Yeah, they always do that. I don't think it's,
Is it a right turn lane or something?
It's a left
We'll
turn.
definitely look at it.
Left turn.
The striping doesn't line up and.
Oh.
Yeah, it gets kind of hairy in there, especially when you got those speed demons.
yeah.
I mean, we can look at more signage or striping or something to clarify it.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, do we have a
I
question?
have a budget question.
Yeah, 'cause that's-
Hey, look at
That's what we're asking. Ask the question.
Budget question. So, on page 181, under street division, there's a item there under materials and supplies, public health and safety. It's fluctuated a lot over the years. Back in 2013, it was around 300,000. then it jumped to about 760. Last year was $1 million. It was requested $1 million again this year, but budgeted was only 347,000. What is that for? And
Pages in,
181.
Pages aren't numbered.
we don't have them.
Oh,
It's under materials and supplies, about the
Fund.
middle of the page.
yeah, Fund 1010.
That's salt.
Public safety, that's salt?
Yeah.
Okay,
They hit.
okay, so,
No, don't say it.
okay.
All right.
Public health and safety.
Well, thank you so much for coming out
Yeah, we
today.
requested more.
And,
You requested more?
Yeah, I got it written down.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah,
didn't,
they,
why didn't you get it?
Oh, no, I got it written down.
Are we gonna have a shortage this year?
They're afraid they might.
they didn't give us money to replenish what we use.
Is that
I
gonna-
can't say we're gonna have a shortage. If you have a mild winter, you won't have a shortage, but then you gotta buy more the following year. You gotta be ready for, I guess you wanna say though.
We're about 330,000 off of what
Run.
we originally requested $10 million number.
Uh-huh.
We sat back with Paul, in March.
Okay. You bet.
We were originally requesting
Thank you, sir.
750,000 for salt. We had a mild March, because we made that number up before in the winter. So instead of asking for 750, we took it down to 562,000.
Okay.
Just for salt, which would make that, essentially, that 5237 account should be $330,000 higher in order to meet what we used last year.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mentioned this a little bit earlier. If we don't get it, we don't get it. But next year, instead of asking for 562,000, I'll be asking for 1.2 million or something.
But what does it mean if you don't get it? Do you have salt?
We do have salt.
Will you have enough?
You never know.
You never know, depends on the
If you have a
weather.
mild winter, or not. Severe winter, you will.
I
That's
have
the
it written
only.
down to try
I
to
told all
find.
my meteorologist friends.
If you have a bad
don't give me a good
winter,
answer on that.
it's hard to buy it in the midwinter.
Yes.
Everybody's trying to get it, so.
Well, you know, I complain a lot when our streets don't get salted, so I want it to be a fair complaint. If you don't have enough salt, then it's, you know, you can't do much, but, all right. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see if that bites us in November.
All right, well, thank you, and then, next week, June 2nd, we've got the public safety, the fire, and the police department. We will go a little bit longer than normal to wrap that up. And then, Wednesday will be, we can either do Wednesday or the next Tuesday, reductions and additions to the budget. It's your call. If, 5 of you tell me what you want. Otherwise, we'll do it on Wednesday, the 3rd. 5 of you want to do it the next Tuesday because you're here, or check your calendars now while you got your phones in your hands. And tell me what works for you.
So you're saying the 3rd?
Yeah, 6:30.
That gives us more time to work the system, to send it back to E&A. I know the president has 2 additions that he wants to do, which means we have to send it back to E&A.
That's fine for me.
Are we all good with the 3rd here? Okay, so let's go ahead and do that on the 3rd, and I'll have the clerk, have everything ready. Basically, you need the page, the line number, the addition, or the subtraction. My preference always is that if you're gonna do an addition, you've gotta come up with a corresponding subtraction. Because if we're starting balanced, and I know it's a large budget, we want to end balanced, but I know that we have to do an accommodation for the president of the board, and I am sure that it's not a significant number in the big scheme of things. That's what I know. I know also we will have the supplemental, Paul Payne had talked about the supplemental appropriation for this year that's ending June 30th. And that bill will be coming to us shortly. I think it's being introduced this Friday, but that's, the final allocation for the year ending 6/30/15. So we will put that in at one of our meetings. Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll do that first. That's how it looks to me. Any other ideas on that? All right, well, meeting adjourned.